Meet our protagonist, Zagan, a foul-mouthed and awkward mage. He is feared by many, especially the church, who happen to be anti-all mages. Zagan has built a reputation and is viewed as one of the strongest mages around. One day, outside his castle, there was a woman who was currently being attacked by someone who seemed to be her ally. This woman later realized that the man in front of her, who seemed to be her comrade, was actually a mage who stole her comrade's face and used it as a disguise. Before the evil mage could manage to kill the woman, Zagan appeared with his magic, and he killed the mage who was begging for his life by crushing his skull. The woman fainted out of shock, but with Zagan's magic, he reversed it and saved her life. Zagan soon realized that the girl he saved was from a church because of the cross symbol on her neck. In the middle of performing the magic and casting the magic circle, someone interrupted Zagan. His magic circle was being hijacked, but little did he know that it was just his friend Barbaros. Zagan talked to Barbaros about sacrificing the girl he just saved, but he does not like the idea of sacrificing someone for magic. The two of them continued talking until Barbaros mentioned an auction. This auction is for the treasures of the late Demon King Marcosius. The two of them went to the exact location of the auction and saw different mages, whose power is also strong like Zagan and Barbaros, but that they also earned in the candidacy for the next Demon King. The auction started off with a product that was supposed to be delivered to Marcosius before his sudden demise. The product was described to be a legendary species caught in the Holy Land called Norden. When the auction's host revealed the product, Zagan's eyes brimmed at the sight of a beautiful lady elf. The elf had a chain on her neck, white hair, and a beautiful physical appearance. Zagan immediately fell in love at first sight and offered 1 million Curiosities gold coins. Barbaros and the rest of the auction attendees were shocked by this hasty behavior and amount of money he was willing to pay. Zagan took the lady elf home to his castle after the auction and then had a word with her. Before even starting the conversation, the elf asked him about how he would kill her. Zagan was shocked because this was not his plan. Zagan explained to her that he does not want her to be killed but rather live. The elf misunderstood Zagan's intention and thought that Zagan wanted her to die a slow death. After the small misunderstanding, Zagan introduces himself and the elf as well. Her name is Neferia, or Nefi for short. Zagan finds her name beautiful, just like her. The conversation continued on, and Zagan learned that Nefi has no last name, a cursed child, and a virgin. Nefi asked Zagan why he bought her, and Zagan was hesitant to answer the question himself. Nefi was confused and asked Zagan again until he answered, and said that he needs her and wants to live for him. Nefi was dumbfounded. She didn't know that someone would ever need her, let alone want her to live for someone's sake. In a world where mages are deemed to be the villain, will Nefi believe Zagan's word? Will Nefi choose to trust him and start their own story of living together for a long time? After their awkward conversation, Zagan showed Nefi around the castle and made her choose the room she wanted. While Zagan was showing Nefi around, she could not stop thinking about her death when she heard that they were going to a high place. While the tour continued, Nefi almost fell from the stairs, but luckily Zagan saved her. Zagan accidentally held her hand and felt the heat of it. He wanted to let go, but he was flustered and told himself that it was too late. Zagan continued finding a room for Nefi and stumbled upon a room with a big guillotine. Nefi thought it was her death and offered herself. Zagan immediately closed the door, and with his magic, he burned the guillotine and made it vanish. Nefi was baffled upon seeing such devastating magic. Nefi saw a balcony in that current room and went to go see the sky. Nefi asked Zagan if she could have that room. Zagan was hesitant because of the burned markings that were a result of his magic, but Nefi insisted that it was okay. Zagan agreed and Nefi thanked him. Nefi noticed that there was something odd with Zagan's expression. Zagan told her that it was the first time someone expressed gratitude to him. Nefi replied that it was also a while since the last time she said those words. Later on, Nefi woke up at the sight of Zagan's throne because her room wasn't sleeping material yet. She woke up and heard Zagan's voice asking her if she was awake. She greeted Zagan good morning, but Zagan didn't know what to reply. Zagan brought food for the both of them to share. Nefi was confused and asked Zagan a question if they were having the same meal. Apparently, sharing a meal was a big honor, but having the same meal is strange. The food was categorized as food for the slave or animal food. Zagan did not know anything about normal food because animal food was the only thing he had kept eating since he was young and still a bandit. Nefi offered to cook for Zagan and he was surprised that she could cook. Nefi learned cooking just by watching, and the idea of her cooking was very delightful to Zagan. Nefi's homemade cooking flustered Zagan. Zagan was so busy researching magic that he did not have the time to learn or even have the desire to cook. Due to this, Zagan offered Nefi to go to the city and shop for clothes. They went on to start the journey, but Zagan realized he was broke when he heard about the price to even just get into the city. Zagan remembered that he used all his money to buy Nefi. Will Zagan and Nefi be able to go to the city and shop? After realizing that he's broke, Zagan and Nefi continue walking to the city because they cannot even afford a carriage due to their situation. While walking, Zagan noticed that there was a carriage being robbed by a group of bandits. Zagan despised bandits and defeated them one by one. He even defeated a fellow mage who was with the bandits. Due to Zagan's unintentional heroic deeds, the people inside the carriage thanked him and he even got a bag of gold and an offer to become a bodyguard of the owner/driver of the carriage. In the end, Zagan and Nefi got money and a free ride going to the city. After the events that happened, Zagan and Nefi managed to arrive in the city. Zagan stopped for a moment to think on what to buy for Nefi and decided to buy her new clothes because Nefi's clothes got ripped due to their earlier happenings. Zagan and Nefi went to a boutique where they were greeted by a woman with a pair of wings named Manuela. Zagan entrusted the choosing of clothes to Manuela and immediately started with it. The first clothes were a bit of a shock for Zagan due to the sexy and quite lustful appeal of it. Zagan immediately made Manuela change the clothes and settled with a more conservative choice in boots with a touch of healing magic for fatigue while working. While finalizing the clothes of choice, Manuela whispered the words, "Aren't you glad you have a master that treasures you?" That made Nefi realize how important she is to Zagan. After shopping for clothes, Zagan and Nefi went to a blacksmith to ask if he can remove the collar that has been preventing Nefi from potentially using magic and having the freedom that she deserves. Unfortunately, due to the high risk of being laden with traps that might kill Nefi, Zagan decided not to do it. Zagan tried to pay the blacksmith, but he refused, and later told him that he was saved by him before and is now trying to show his gratitude to Zagan. After a tiring day of shopping, Zagan brought Nefi to a restaurant and decided to end their day with a nice meal. The scene cuts to a church, where the girl which Zagan saved was shown along with a priest. They talked about the previous mission where they lost a comrade to a mage who copied his face. The girl mentioned Zagan to the priest while having this conversation, and the priest was aghast upon hearing his name, and later told her that Zagan was the perpetrator of the series of kidnappings and told her that all mages are evil. After hearing all that information from the priest, the girl stood up and asked the priest to bestow to her the duty to kill Zagan. The priest agrees and bestows it to her, known to be the Maiden of the Holy Sword, also known as the Holy Knight's captain, Chastel Lilquist. A flashback of Zagan's terrible childhood experience with his encounter with the mage who made him who he is today has haunted his dream. Luckily, the first thing he saw was Nefi in front of him asking if he had woken up already. When he asked why, Nefi had told him that she prepared breakfast. Zagan was flabbergasted upon seeing the room from graveyard state to a proper dining room. Aside from the clean dining room, Zagan was astonished to know that Nefi has good cooking skills and made them breakfast from scratch. After an awkward breakfast together, he went to his library to research more about magic. The curious Nefi asks about the symbols used in magic, since she doesn't know what and how it is used and she can't use magic. Zagan went on to give more information about the basics and the history of magic to Nefi, as well as theories about it. Nefi, the curious girl that she is, asked Zagan about what he wants after he obtains the power that he seeks. Zagan did not actually have a direct answer to her question. The only answer he could think of was to live. Zagan had a rough childhood. His life was always in danger until a mage gave him the ability to perform magic. From then on, Zagan wanted to become stronger in order to gain power and live. Zagan suddenly sensed danger while in the middle of their conversation. The Holy Knights happened to be just outside the castle, ready to engage in battle in order to catch him. Then, the mage and the captain of the Holy Knights' path had crossed once again. The Holy Sword is the sword that is said to have destroyed the demons a long time ago. It is the church's strongest weapon and has also been a symbol of power. The sword is currently in the possession of the Holy Knight's captain, Chastel. Chastel and the other knights face Zagan in attempts to seize him, but Zagan was just so strong and beat them one by one. Chastel proceeds to fight Zagan in a battle she'd likely lose until they were far enough from the other knights. Chastel revealed her true intentions to Zagan, which was to ask a favor if he could pretend to be dead. She knows that Zagan was protecting someone, and pretending that he was killed would lessen the risk of harming her. Chastel wants Zagan to give up on magic and live as a human for the sake of the one he holds dear. She never wanted to subjugate Zagan because she saw the good in him and wants to repay him for saving her life before. In the midst of their secret conversation, Nefi appears and was almost killed by a knight. Luckily, she was saved by Zagan, but Zagan suffered a slash on his hand. Out of nowhere, Nefi's powers got triggered by her anger and unleashed her own magical abilities. Out of anger, Nefi attacked the knights with her magic to control plants. Her power was going to have an outburst, but Zagan was fast enough to stop her from potentially harming herself. Back in the castle, Zagan's wounds are being treated by Nefi. Zagan was confused and asked Nefi what happened earlier because she told him that she can't use magic. Nefi told Zagan that it was not magic. Zagan did not care what it was and told Nefi that she's still her no matter what power she possesses. Zagan showed interest in what Nefi can do because it was the first time he saw it. With a little hesitation, Nefi told Zagan that the power she had shown was called mysticism. Unlike magic that causes a phenomena through the accumulation of logic and definitions, mysticism is a technique that is made possible through wishes. It interferes with everything, just like a miracle, which surpasses human knowledge. Apparently, Nefi is the only one who can use this power among the elves. For Nefi, it is a power that no one should possess. She points out that she is a cursed child, that's why she can use this kind of power. She was burdened to have the responsibility of protecting her village, but in return, she gained nothing. According to villagers, she must return this favor just for being allowed to live. After those words struck Nefi, something inside her snapped, and she did not resist nor fulfill the responsibility of protecting the village that was forced onto her. As a result, most of the elves were slaughtered, but instead of feeling sad, she was thinking, serves you right. Remorse wasn't present during those times of her life. Every single elf cursed her as their life fades away, and Neffy admits that she smiled from the bottom of her heart upon seeing them in that state. At the back of Neffy's mind lingers the words, "Now it's your time to suffer." After that incident, she realized that she had no one. She is someone who can calmly laugh while watching others die. Neffy worries that Zagan might hate that fact about her, but Zagan showed the opposite, and if it was him in that situation, he would have killed the invaders and the villagers. Zagan explained that having that kind of power is neither good nor evil. It just depends on how and who we use it to. A traumatic childhood convinced him to believe that being saved when in trouble is just a mere fantasy. Zagan proceeds to comfort a tearing up Neffy, and tells her that he needs her and that she can definitely stay with him. Neffy lets out a sob upon hearing those words from Zagan, words that made her feel so important. After a while, Neffy unwrapped Zagan's wound, and to their surprise, it was completely healed. They realized that the mysticism also has healing magic, and it healed his hand like nothing happened. After witnessing a miraculous event with Neffy's power, it's already time for bed. Neffy came to Zagan saying the words, "May I sleep with you?" Zagan was shocked to hear those words. He now doesn't know what to do. Neffy has a good reason for this odd request. Apparently, there was no bed in her room, so she mustered her strength and asked Zagan for this peculiar request of her. Zagan quickly realized that Neffy is just purely asking for an innocent request and is not offering her body to him. Aside from not having her own bed, Neffy is just concerned for Zagan because he always sleeps on a throne rather than a real bed. Zagan appreciated the concern, but he needs to be in that area and position in order to protect the place when something happens. Neffy, with her pure heart, offered her lap and decided to make Zagan rest his head there in order to get some quiet, proper rest. Zagan couldn't refuse this innocent offer from Neffy, and he went with it. After a short conversation, Zagan suddenly blurted out if Neffy wanted to learn magic. Zagan noticed that Neffy has no control over her mysticism. Zagan knows that there is no guarantee that learning magic will make her control her powers, but it can at the very least protect her from harm. Looking determined, Neffy agrees to learn magic from our protagonist himself. Neffy is dead set on learning magic for the sake of her master. Subsequently, Barbaros knocks on Zagan's room and goes inside the room immediately before even Zagan can even attend to him. Barbaros was worried upon hearing the news that Zagan was attacked by the Holy Knights. While having a conversation about what happened during Zagan's encounter with the Holy Knights, Barbaros dropped his coffee because Neffy popped up. Barbaros knew who Neffy was and asked Zagan why he did not sacrifice her, but he rather made her into a maid. Zagan revealed that Neffy is her student and an assistant for performing magic that can't be done alone. Barbaros immediately realizes that Neffy's power was the one who defeated the Holy Knights, and asks Zagan if he really intends to take the Demon Lord's throne. But even without the Demon Lord's throne, Zagan just wanted to get the key that would grant Neffy's freedom. If he was the Demon Lord, he would be able to protect Neffy from other mages who try to lay their hands on her. Barbaros then asks Zagan if he has developed some feelings for Neffy. Zagan replies with a rhetorical question. Is it strange to treasure your student? When Barbarossa was satisfied with Zagan's answers, he left, and then Zagan and Neffy started their magical lesson. After a few sessions, Zagan receives a letter of invitation directly from the 12 Demon Lords. Zagan faced the 12 most powerful mages known as the Demon Lords. He did not know what the agenda was and was shocked when one of the Demon Lords announced that he will be bestowed the title and power of a Demon Lord. Zagan will be the 13th Demon Lord and will receive a crest that holds an amount and density of mana that's beyond normal. He thought that the title Demon Lord was just a title. Nothing more, nothing less. Zagan is baffled because he knows that there are more mages that are much more powerful than he is. One of the Demon Lords explained that Zagan is one of the unique mages that can't be killed by other mages and can easily memorize magic. Zagan thinks carefully about this offer. He immediately thought of Neffy's life. For Zagan, he thinks that he will be dragging Neffy away from a normal life that she deserves. So he made a deal that if he gets his hand on the key that will free Neffy from her collar, he will accept the offer. Zagan went home and announced that he became a Demon Lord, a king of mages. He freed Neffy from her chains, but Neffy did not expect what happened next. Zagan the Demon Lord ordered her to get out. With a sad look, Neffy finds herself in an alley questioning why she is there. She saw the collar that used to be on her neck but is now on the floor. She remembered that Zagan was the one responsible for it and that he tossed her out of the castle. Though the situation is bad for her, she does not shed tears. As she was thinking about what went wrong, the captain of the Holy Knights found her. She immediately thought that she was going to be killed because she is a disciple of a mage. The captain of the Holy Knights denies her assumption. The people noticed this encounter and thought that Chastel, the captain of the Holy Knights, was harassing her. She tried to calm down the people who were trying to accuse her of such acts. To make matters worse, Manuela, the woman with wings, went along with the same accusation. Chastel continued to deny the accusations until she teared up and tried to explain what really happened. Manuela believed her, and they went to a restaurant with Neffy as well. Chastel apologized and Manuela treated Neffy with food, which Neffy tried to refuse because she didn't have money. Neffy broke down in tears when she learned that it was Manuela's treat and remembered Zagan. Like a big sister, Manuela pulled the two girls closer to her, providing comfort to Neffy. Neffy explained what happened between her and Zagan, and how she ended up in that alley. Chastel even thought that he just needed to use Neffy for his own good, but Neffy still believed him and defended him. The three continued chatting until it led to Chastel asking if Zagan was involved with the kidnappings and serial killings. Neffy stayed true to what she believed in. She is convinced that Zagan has nothing to do with it. She also said that he is concerned towards the weak and even saved a carriage from bandits. Neffy said that Chastel's theory about Zagan was right. He looked like he was in need of help. Though he seeks companionship and warmth from people, he tries to keep them to himself or rather cast it away. Neffy completely understands Chastel's point, when she herself has heard Zagan talk about his past. She is glad that someone else understood Zagan, but she can't help but feel a little jealous. She promised that no matter what, she'll return to Zagan. He might be strong, but he can still get hurt. No one is fine alone. She wants to be someone he can rely on. Three subordinates of Chastel come inside the restaurant and saw them. While Chastel was trying to talk to them, a black entity showed up. It took Neffy and Chastel, then vanished into thin air. Before vanishing, they heard a man's voice. The man introduces himself as Zagan, and said that if they wish to save the two, they should go to his castle. While Zagan was thinking about how quiet being alone is, the three subordinates of Chastel accidentally tripped inside his trap. Zagan wasn't bothered by the sudden appearance of these three subordinates. He was still thinking about Neffy, but one of the knights grabbed his leg and said that they don't care what happens to them in exchange for Chastel's life. Zagan was baffled by the knight's words because he didn't take Chastel. Before he sent the knights outside, Manuela suddenly broke the news to him and asked for help. Zagan was shocked, knowing that the person he tried to protect by distancing himself was never really protected. Zagan is distraught and hesitated. He thought of any possible ways to save Neffy as well as protecting her image in order for her to live her life and not be a target of the church. Manuela asks him why he was hesitating. She told him Neffy's plan to return to him and be by his side in order to determine if mages are truly scum or not. He thanked Manuela for clearing his mind and said that mages are indeed a scum and Neffy is his alone. If anyone lays a finger on her, they shall suffer the consequence. Manuela and the other knights accompanied Zagan on his mission. She described what took Neffy and Chastel. With a sad look on his face, he already knew who the culprit was. As Neffy woke up, she noticed that they were in a different place, chained and collared again. She noticed that the restraints used on them are magic-suppressing chains and collars. The mechanism of the collar wasn't the same as her previous one, but her power is not enough for her to break free. She also realized that due to a high aptitude, she can't use her mysticism. Both Neffy and Chastel's attention were directed to a tapping sound approaching them. Neffy recognized the perpetrator, Barbaros. She asked, "Weren't you Master's friend?" And to which Barbaros said that he resents Zagan a lot, and that he was the one who killed his teacher, the first mage Zagan killed. But revenge is not the reason why he resents Zagan. He wanted to be the one to kill his teacher to get all the treasures and money from him. He revealed what he did to hurt or frame Zagan. He firstly tried to stir up the church, but it did not go well. Chastel, flabbergasted by what she is hearing, realizes that Barbaros was the one behind all of the kidnapping incidents and framing it on Zagan. Barbaros wants to use Neffy as a sacrifice to become strong and worthy of the title Demon King. Upon hearing this, Neffy told him that Zagan already took that title weeks ago. Barbaros was shocked upon hearing this news. Instead of being discouraged, it fuels him to complete the spell and take the title from Zagan. Just when Barbaros started hurting and dragging Neffy, Zagan appears. As Barbaros faced Zagan, he asked him when he learned the truth. Zagan just simply replied that he was suspicious every time he showed up. The fact that a weak and frightened mage was able to destroy Zagan's barrier during the Face Ripper incident already stirred up suspicions that someone else destroyed it. The frequent visitation of Barbaros sold him out because it was as if he was trying to check something. The battle started and was one-sided. Zagan was obviously winning. After striking Barbaros, he went to free Neffy and check if she was okay. As he checked on her, she was much more worried about her master. She expressed her worries and frustration when he shut himself away. While talking, Barbaros tried to activate his magic and said that the fight is not over when you don't throw the last blow. Zagan stayed calm and knew that nothing would happen. Aside from Neffy, Barbaros was left confused because his magic did not work. Apparently, based on Zagan's theory, when you make the same barrier and some circuitry, the magic will result in what he calls resonance. Doing this, the person who made the same barrier will have all the control over the enemy's spell. Zagan killed Barbaros' master by accidentally using this technique, thus earning him the title the Mage Killer. Barbaros was shocked by how fast he copied his own magic. A blink of an eye was all it took to copy his spell. Aside from that, he showed Barbaros another feat that was jaw-dropping. He converted all the magic spells that Barbaros cast into a new spell. With this powerful technique in his arsenal, Zagan delivers the final blow. If he swings his punch, not even a demon lord can stop it. After catching that devastating attack, Barbaros realized how far the gap was between him and Zagan. He tried to plead to Zagan not to kill him. Zagan agreed since he doesn't have any reason to kill him, and he will not be able to get his hands on tasty booze once he kills Barbaros. Barbaros feels like he's being mocked and tells Zagan that he will definitely find a way to end his life if he lives. Zagan just doesn't mind him doing that because he knows that Barbaros will lose. For him, a demon lord who does not follow conventional practice is who he is. He'll do anything he wants. If Neffy wants to enjoy her life without anyone trying to chase her, he'll just rule everything. Just right after saying those words, the magic circle suddenly activated. Zagan thought that it was still Barbaros' doing, but it wasn't. A black entity appeared inside the magic circle. He asked him what exactly he was trying to accomplish earlier, to which he replied, it was supposed to summon demons. As the black entity appeared, Zagan was confused if it was a shadow or an actual demon, given the fact that the summoning was incomplete. He knows upon seeing this entity that humans are no match. He was stunned when it called him master and bowed down in front of him, but he later realized that it wasn't bowing to him but to the demon lord's seal. After the intense events, the knights were glad that their captain was safe and sound. Neffy reminded Zagan to talk things out with Barbaros, to which he complied. He asked Barbaros if he still wanted to continue, to which he said no. Luckily, that entity went somewhere else after Zagan ordered it to. Before they part, Barbaros tried to remember about the booze agreement that they had. After leaving, Zagan and Neffy had their alone time. He did not know what to say or do, but for Neffy, she already knew what she wanted to say. She wants to be by his master's side no matter what. Zagan promised that it won't be like before and that he wants to be called by his name, because he wants them to be lovers, a word which can't be pronounced in this situation. "You are mine," Zagan shouted. He wanted her for a lifetime and even in death, to which she gladly says yes. She encouraged him to put a collar on her neck like before. He was hesitant, knowing that it was for slaves and not for lovers. She explains that it was what connected them from the beginning. He agreed and just thought of the collar as a weird engagement ring. After their moment, she asked what kind of relationship he was talking about. With a palm on his face, he thought of how a demon lord like him who took a slave elf as a bride would love her. Half a month went by, and Zagan is still researching about the demon lord's seal, to which the entity bowed. He couldn't find any clue from Masachiya's legacy. With him having a hard time with his research, Neffy showed up and tried to comfort him by cooking him a meal. He was moved by the delicacies that she made. Manuela even taught her how to make dessert. While enjoying the meal she prepared, a mage interfered. The mysterious intruder was Valifer, a mage that Zagan met at the auction. Valifer is one of the Demon Lord candidates. He wanted to take Zagan's title from him by defeating him in battle. Zagan was just completely unfazed by this and insists that he is still eating. But Valifer isn't having it and decides to attack. With one hit, Valifer is down and his mask goes flying. Neffy and Zagan are both shocked to see that a little girl is inside the mask. The child was out cold with just Zagan's single strike. They took the kid inside a room for her to lie down. Just when she was gaining consciousness, she immediately tries to attack Zagan with her fist, but he easily evades her attacks and even told her that if it weren't for Neffy, she would have been decapitated at this point. He asked the little girl why she attacked him. She replied, "Because I am weak." He asks the girl, why him of all people? She figured that if he has the title Mage Killer, it means that he could be weak against other things than mages. Because of her words and his observation, he realized that she is not a mage but a dragon, a non-magic creature that will basically go stronger just by living. Because she attacked a demon lord, he decided to punish her. Neffy and Valifer thought that she'd be killed, but Zagan went to the softer kind of punishment, which is to become Neffy's assistant for the following week. Valifer thought that she was going to be eaten by him because consuming dragon blood and flesh will make people stronger, but instead of eating her, they feed her. Zagan gave a warning that he'd kill people who waste food, especially Neffy's cooking. Just like that, Valifer became a part of the Neffy-Zagan duo. Upon leaving, Zagan stopped to think about what happened to Chastel after the incident. Apparently, due to her being saved by Zagan twice, she requested to be suspended indefinitely as a captain of the Holy Knights. Many disagree with the church's decision to suspend her as a captain, but Chastel insists because she doesn't want to stray from her way of life. The priest wants to console her and says that he can do something when it comes to politics, but he cannot help her regarding Raphael Herendel. He is a wielder of the Holy Sword and has the title The Terrifying due to his vicious character. Raphael is on his way to the church, and they do not know his intentions. While going back to Neffy and Valifer, she already started helping Neffy with the chores. Though Zagan said that Neffy was stronger than her, he can't help but worry about the possible outcomes of leaving the two together alone. He constantly secretly checks on them from time to time. Neffy and Valifer talked a lot, and learned that the little girl does not have a home or a place she belongs to. When Valifer called Zagan for dinner, she asked if he was not worried if she attacked him behind his back one day, and he replied the same thing he said to Barbaros: "Come at me whenever you want, and every time you lose, the period of your punishment will increase." The three sat down at the dining room table and started eating. Suddenly, Valifer said sorry about interrupting their dinner back then. It was fine for Zagan if she understood. Zagan later announced that he will be bringing Valifer to Marcochisa's castle later to investigate. She was confused as to why he doesn't even bring his guard up when it comes to her. Apparently for him, he doesn't care if she's a very skilled mage or a dragon. For him, she's just a child. She tears up hearing this. Valifer gave both of them the permission to call her with her real name, which is Full, a sign that she trusts them. After eating, she fell asleep. Apparently, whether you're a dragon or not, a child will always be a child. Before they visited Marchios' castle, they went to Manuela's shop to buy Foal's clothes that fit and are right for her age. After buying, the three continued their journey like an actual family. While walking towards the castle, they coincidentally ran into Chastel, who was dressed like a normal villager. Chastel was shocked to see them with a child and thought they were the parents. Foal asked who the woman was, but to Chastel's surprise, he didn't know her name at all. Neffy told her that her name was Chastel-san. Then the three knights who were trying to protect her from any form of danger appeared. Foal did not like the presence of the knights in front of her, which is perfectly normal in her day and age. After a brief conversation with Chastel, the three of them finally reached their destination. A big and awesome castle was in front of them. For Foal, the place seems familiar, and she was certain that dragons lived there before. According to Zagan, the castle originally had a structure above ground, but due to Marchios' magic, it sunk underground. As they went inside the castle, they saw a golem that used to protect the place when Marchios was alive. As they kept on looking, Foal accidentally found a magic circle that was a dragon's formula. She told Zagan and he decided to activate it. He saw Neffy acting a bit weird and seemed to be trying to say something. He realized that she just wanted to be appreciated through a stroke on her head, just like what he did to Foal. Then, they finally found Marchios' library, which is full of knowledge and research about magic. They began searching for the book about demons and the Demon Lord's seal. Then, Foal suddenly stumbled upon a book about the Holy Sword. Zagan immediately took it from her, and thought that since the Holy Sword is as ancient as the Demon Lord's seal, it might have had some ancient scriptures as well. And he was right. If he investigates the Holy Sword, he might get the answers he was seeking. Kneeling down, Chastel greeted one of the Holy Knight's captains, Raphael Herendel. Raphael immediately started the conversation about her being the rumored maiden of the Holy Sword. He heard about what she did and was surprised that she still looked well despite it. "How many mages have you cut down?" he asked. Chastel told him that she does not want to boast about the number that she has. He burst out laughing when he heard this. The mood suddenly changed when he said that she can boast about it when she's in the underworld already. Chastel heard threat after threat from him, and the priest was trying to protect her from him. Raphael reaches the point where he will be executing her if the sword is not returned to her. In the end, the priest returned her sword to prevent the worst from happening. Zagan, with an annoyed face, was in a bar, and not really having it because Barbaros knew about Foal and thought he already adopted her like a real daughter. After finding the book, Zagan received an invite from him for a drink, and he went with it. They had a few drinks and talked about the little dragon that Zagan adopted. Barbaros later told him that Raphael, an infamous holy sword wielder who has 499 kills, has come and chose him as a target. Zagan was confused on how he managed to kill that many mages. Apparently, he ate a dragon that he killed according to Barbaros. He remembered Foal's words before about eating a dragon. While talking about Raphael's appearance, a big man in a suit of armor comes inside the bar and walks towards them. Zagan saw his reflection in the glass he was using to drink and realized that it was who they call Raphael. Barbaros thought that there was going to be a fight after meeting Raphael, but the opposite happened. Zagan invited the knight to sit down and have a talk with him, to which he agreed. After their introductions, they proceeded to talk about Chastel. Since Zagan told him that Chastel was about the strongest she fought, Raphael immediately thinks that she'll be a threat to the church. Zagan was confused, but Raphael told him about what happened. Chastel objected to the elimination of a demon lord, making her a criminal and eligible for execution. Just before leaving, Zagan told him how well liked Chastel is, and many people will grieve over her death. Zagan warned him that if he acts too much, he'll destroy him. After the intense exchange, Zagan tells Barbaros to go and check on Chastel since he excels on transportation and summoning. Zagan then went home to Neffy and Foal. He finds Foal sleeping on Neffy's lap. The two of them had a heartwarming conversation about each other. Right when Zagan and Neffy were about to share a kiss, Barbaros appeared with an unconscious Chastel. Someone tried to kill her by poisoning the tea she was drinking. Due to the ruckus, Foal woke up and saw Barbaros carrying a holy knight. She immediately attacked the unconscious knight, but was stopped by Zagan. Trembling because of anger, she stated that she became a mage just to take revenge on the Holy Knights. Her revenge is fueled by his father's death, which was caused by a Holy Knight. Zagan told her that it wasn't the proper way of taking revenge. He then explained how revenge works and that he will teach her. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button and press like for more recaps.